Hello, this is Michael Hexter. Welcome to Politics 2100 here on YouTube. So, this episode I'm calling Feckless Old Dem Leadership Remains Supine in the Face of Histrionic GOP Political Attacks. So, this is a commentary or reaction to the events of the last couple of days, and in particular the handling of the hearings for Ketanji Brown Jackson in her as she has been nominated for the Supreme Court. And in those hearings, a number of Republican senators mounted, if not directly personal attacks on her. I mean, there were implications and there was innuendo in their questioning of her that suggested that because she's black, that she has a particular interest in or affinity for criminality and for leniency as a judge. But probably more relevant or more egregious, in my opinion, or as egregious maybe, were the efforts to grandstand by airing grievances about previous nomination processes by Lindsey Graham and others, where basically there were efforts made to suggest that, to use the occasion of her hearings to talk about how Brett Kavanaugh was mistreated during those hearings and was humiliated and unnecessarily by questioning into the allegations of sexual abuse and that or potential criminality, potential rape that were discussed around those hearings. So anyway, I'm repeating and amplifying the words or the commentaries of a couple different people. One of them is Sam Seder of the Majority Report. Another one is Elie Mystal of the legal correspondent for The Nation, who note that the chairman, Dick Durbin, of that committee, so the Democrats are currently in the majority in the Senate by just the vote of the vice president. So 50-50 Senate with the vice president giving the Dems the chairmanships. So anyway, the Dick Durbin didn't police the unruly behavior of Republicans. Republicans talked over Ketanji, Brown Jackson, and so they were basically very lenient and they acted, in my opinion, this is something that is a theme of this vlog and of some of my previous writing, that the current Democratic leadership treats the Republicans as if they are much more respectable than they are, and furthermore that they're even that they have more privileges than the Democrats themselves have, in the sense that they allow them to misbehave without consequence, in this case being cut off in the hearing. And this is of a piece with the general attitude of the Democratic leadership, which is one of passivity, one of, as Sam Seder points out, basically of being apolitical in a political role, or being thinking that they can rise above politics, meanwhile when the other party is indulging fully in politics in a destructive way, in a contentless way, in a way that doesn't that suggests that party has very little to offer the American people, but nevertheless they can offer politics to their base, and politics being fighting for their side, let's say. And the Democrats have decided that that they only marginally or very listlessly will fight for their side, and that they will act as though they are not entitled to fight, really, and that they are not entitled to be partisans, as Sam Seder points out, for their, in this case, their nominee, but really in almost every aspect of the Biden administration, and then even stretching back to the Obama administration, or just the Democratic Congress of 2018 to 2020, that or 2019 to 2021 or whatever. So just prior to Biden's election and inauguration. But anyway, that the Democratic leadership has treated the Republicans with kid gloves, even as the Republicans have broken all kinds of laws, in particular, in the case of Donald Trump, and they've acted as though they've been forced to press the case, for instance, against Donald Trump or others, and not done so with passion, not done so with guile, let's say, with acuity in terms of their, or accuracy in terms of their attacks on the Republicans. They haven't exposed the Republicans to any consequences politically for their actions, and so this they allow Republicans like Lindsey Graham to act out. And so I think this is something that is not trivial at all, because basically the Republicans are using every ounce of their political strength, so to speak, to capture power again, and to capture the election, and to win the election, and so forth and so on. Meanwhile, the Democrats are doing almost the bare minimum to try to get reelected. I mean, they're doing something, but they're not doing politics in the sense of doing damage to their very vulnerable opponents. They could expose their opponents as being un-American, as racist, as out of touch, as subservient to and in awe of the former president of Donald Trump. And so they could be doing so much to do damage to their political opponents, but they are refusing to do that for whatever reason, and it is likely will have tragic consequences. I'm hoping that it won't. I'm hoping that the Democrats pull together or can persuade enough voters to keep the Republicans out of power in later this year, and in the Congress, and also in 2024. But the passivity of the Democrats is no recommendation of them. And I believe, and this is something that has been commented upon, I think also Ryan Grimm also comments on or uses this line of discourse. It seems as though the Democratic leadership thinks there's some kind of hall monitor. Perhaps they think that hall monitor is the American people, that is silently grading them as being the better pupils, as being the good students, the good well-behaved students. So and that they will be rewarded come election time by because of their being just goody two shoes essentially. And so this is a vain hope. It doesn't really reflect the what the American people are sick and tired of Washington and their institutional love of the institutions and so forth and so on. They have very little respect for it, for those institutions. Most of it, some of which is earned and some of which is unearned. But anyway, so this leadership and the Democratic Party overall needs to start fighting harder for not only for Ketanji Brown Jackson. I mean, though they have that apparently in the bag, but they need to electorally and also through their legislative any publicized actions that they do create a compelling case for themselves and a negative case for their opponents, and a strong negative case, and one that is relevant and germane to the concerns of the American people, and not to this mythical hall monitor or authority in the sky that is grading them as being the good legislators by not making a fuss. So anyway, and so the other element of this is that, and I mentioned this in a piece I wrote that sort of kicked off this blog, and it's in the Politics 2100 blog. It's about the campaign to veil and the multi-decade campaign to veil and sanitize the GOP, but that the Democrats and the media have participated in and have created a misleading picture of their opponents, making them appear to be more respectable and misinterpreting them at every step, not showing them through their actions, showing the world through their actions that they are as degraded and as power hungry and as mendacious as they are. And so anyway, one of the elements of that is that the Republicans are allowed to cosplay or to performatively imagine that they represent quote unquote real America and they're the real Americans. This is something that is key to Trumpism, key to the current base of the Republican Party. They think of themselves as the real Americans, and the Democrats are represent the phony Americans, the not real Americans, and that they really have all the rights to do whatever, and the Democrats have no rights to do anything, and so because they are a de facto illegitimate party, and this is everything to do, I mean, among other things, with racism and the way that racism has been mobilized in our political system to shore up the to combat a movement towards, let's say, some kind of social democracy, and a multiracial social democracy, and to multiracial, multi-ethnic, inclusive society that has a stronger social safety net that controls, most importantly, that controls corporate control of government and dampens the power of corporations, regulates them based on our needs for a low carbon or a zero, sorry to use this word, net zero. I can go into it in some other video about why that needs that. Sorry when I say that, use that word. But anyway, a radically decarbonized society. Anyway, that the GOP is a useful, its racism, its neo-fascism is a useful tool for corporations to maintain the status quo in terms of their power and in terms of the actual infrastructure of society. So so anyway, but this on the terrain of culture, the culture wars, or which is not trivial, which is where many people psychologically are, though not necessarily economically, but that the conviction that they are the real Americans is given. The Democrats act as though they allow that hegemonic view. In other words, that they should have hegemony because they are the real Americans, and being sort of white, mostly suburban and rural Americans, and that everyone else is not real. And so the Democrats need to convincingly question that, and to not reflect that back, to say that we have a place for you, white, rural, and suburban people, in our inclusive multiracial coalition that's a place with everybody else, and we are going to build a society that's better than this current society. That, you know, all these different things. I'm messaging. I'm helping with the messaging here, but we are not going to allow you to say you have exclusive rights to being the real Americans. And, you know, I mean, and there are many ways to communicate this, but one of the ways to not communicate it is to allow people like Lindsey Graham or others just to run roughshod over procedure without consequences, and not to push back and be exposed, so he can be exposed for his racism and his egocentric, his corruption, his egocentric behavior, and a sense of entitlement. So anyway, the awe with which the Democrats treat Republicans, or the seeming awe that because they keep this special entitlement off limits, they need to start, you know, saying, no, look, you're one of us. We're all part of the same project. But you don't have the special rights to exclude other people from that at all. In fact, we're all in it together, and that idea of trying to exclude other people is a dumb idea, and it doesn't really work. But anyway, it's something that we have a solution for everybody, and not just for you. If it's for you and for everybody else. So anyway, so some of it is a fear. The Democrats act as if they're very afraid, and they need to stop acting that way and start being bolder and confrontational and political, and in ways that are constructive and ways that support the mission of building a better America. Hopefully, you know, especially from the left perspective, a social democratic or further left society. But anyway, so I will, obviously this is something that will come up again and again. I just wanted to bookmark this and point to these resources and these opinions about these particular hearings, but also just to say, you know, this is nothing exceptional. I mean, it was grotesque, so it was actually, you know, it was marked, but it's also just diagnostic of the last, you know, couple decades really of Democratic politicking, which has been lacking. So anyway, if you like this video, please like it, and also if you are been stimulated to think, if you have any thoughts about this particular topic, please comment below. And also, if you're enjoying Politics 2100, please subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.